Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another awesome episode of A Queen's Round Table Show and Podcast. So, we are keeping it going. I have another, if you've caught the last several episodes, I've been interviewing the co authors of this upcoming new anthology titled, oh my God, I lost the title. Lord have mercy. What is the name of it? It's called Imperfectly Fierce and Focused. Lord have mercy. Imperfectly Fierce and Focused. Let me first of all let me just say this. I was just talking to my guest here about how I have a lot of irons in the fire. And you all have to forgive me. As women, as mothers, some of us work full-time jobs, we run businesses, right? We care for our elderly parents, we're pillars in the community. And sometimes, I'm gonna be honest with you all, sometimes I may be a little on the forgetful side. So charge it not to my head. I mean, not to my heart, but to my head. And I am just super excited to actually be able to interview the co-authors of this particular project. And the visionary author, Kiva Murdaugh, she is just awesome. Whatever she touches is impeccable. So if you're not following her, Kiva Murdaugh and the Kiva Murdaugh Show, then you need to do so as soon as possible. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna bring my guest up. She's gonna join me here in the studio, and we are going to get started. All right. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Hi, Jacqueline.
Hi. Well, very nice to have you back. And I know, you're not a stranger to the show. You've been on the show many a times, right?
Yes,
And but this time is special, and this is something different. This is something magical that we're creating together.
absolutely.
So I have Miss Lisa Dove Washington here. She is one of the co-authors as well as the publisher for this upcoming anthology, Imperfectly Fierce and Focused. So Lisa, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Go ahead and just kind of introduce yourself and let the audience know a little bit about you.
Okay. Like you said, I'm a co-author. I've been a co-author before, but like Jacqueline said, I'm excited about this project and being a co-author of this book. I will say that the way I became a co-author on this book was very different than how it's happened in other experiences, which I'm really excited about. So I'm a publisher. Touched by Dove Publishing is my publishing company. I also have an online show called Luncheon with Lisa, where I do things just like Jacqueline. I love interviewing people about their visions and their dreams and sharing it with the world. So I also have my own online magazine. So I publish my own online magazine to do the same thing, to just share, those things that people are doing that maybe someone doesn't know about. I love sharing the shine and sharing people's visions and dreams out there in the world. So I take every opportunity that I have as Lisa to help people to spread their wings. So I just enjoy meeting and networking with people and actually just getting to know what makes people tick. And I guess it blesses me, and that's why I continue to move in that space. So I'm an author, international best-selling author. I have a couple of babies under my belt that I love to talk about. Believe it or not, one of them had to do with not talking all the time. Um, but I love writing. I love the pen to paper. And I love just spreading good news. So that's me in a nutshell. I am a wife and a mom. I have a blended family, 7 children altogether, believe it or not. So I still have all my hair in my head. Um, and I also have a grandbaby. I'm a GG. So those are the things that really keep me going when life gets a little rough. And I'm enjoying being here with you today, Jacqueline.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. I'm enjoying having you here talking about this project. Basically, we want to spread the word. We want as many people to be aware of this project as possible and the importance of it. So it's titled Imperfectly, and I want to make sure I get the full name, Imperfectly Fierce and Focused, rising above your imperfections while still crushing your goals.
Mm.
Let that sink in for a second. So let me kind of go back a little bit. myself, and I didn't share it earlier, but again, I love interviewing women as well via this Eight Queens Roundtable show and podcast. And I also do Eight Queens Roundtable Leadership Symposium, which happens twice a year. So the next one will be in September. So that's also another way that I'm able to spotlight women, basically give women a voice, let them tell their stories while educating others, other women in business, providing personal, professional, and leadership development.
Mhm.
I am also the executive channel producer of the Eight Queens Roundtable channel on the Women Win television network. We stream on Roku and Amazon Fire TV.
Awesome.
And I'm looking for show hosts. So if you're interested in being a show host, okay, look me up. Definitely make sure you are following me at on Facebook at under Jacqueline Kabai Harrison or Realizing Your Potential. So imperfectly fierce and focused. So I'm also a co-author, and I'm super excited about that. And the reason I chose to be a part of this project is because I like to let it. I'm proud to say it. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I'm still a work in progress, right? But I'm a recovering perfectionist. So it speaks to me
Mhm.
because I think as women in general, and especially women of color, we have a tendency to feel that we have to show up perfect, that we have to like put on a certain face, if you will.
Absolutely.
Like I remember being told to be seen and not heard. And
Mm.
things along the lines of, if you're having a bad day, you don't feel well, you have a headache, you're just having an off day, just to kind of suck it up and just to keep going. Right. We don't have time to take a break. We don't have time to say, I'm not okay.
Mhm.
And it's like I spent many years trying to achieve this illusion. Let me say that, this illusion of perfectionism. Everything had to be perfect, and I think it was reinforced by the environment that I grew up in.
Mhm.
So of course I'm on live now. I'm going to start getting all kinds of alerts, right? So, and it was reinforced. I think it was already in me, and it was also reinforced by the household I grew up in.
Mhm.
So that's why I decided to be a part of this project. When she came out with it, I was like, okay, I like that. So that's why it speaks to me. So let me turn the mic over to you, Lisa. What made you decide? Because I know, like you said, you've co-authored, other projects. You've even written your own stories and so forth. What made you say yes to this particular project? Why is this important to you?
So it's funny. We Kiva reached out to me about publishing the project, and I loved it. And I was like, absolutely, easy button. Because I love working with people like Kiva and yourself. I mean, it's an easy yes. Especially working with us on a next level project. So it was that was easy in itself. But as we were meeting with all of the co-authors and Kiva was rolling everything out about and being imperfectly fierce and focused. And like you, the word imperfect um, mixed with fierce and focused, the combination just kind of threw me because you think of how could you put fierce and focused with imperfect? Because like you always want to get it right, and you're always kind of subconsciously worrying about what I did wrong, or if everybody's going to see that even though I messed up here, I'm okay, and that kind of thing. But I loved several things about it. The way she rolled it out was welcoming. And then I thought about if if anybody's imperfect, and I know we all are, but I related to imperfect. I don't get it right all the time, believe it or not, right? Because you always hear people in conversations and they'll accuse somebody of, they think they know everything, or and we all have been accused of that space. And it's something that's always resonated with me, even younger. To when I heard that, I didn't want to be in that space. So I always tried extra hard not to come off like I know everything. But then you have those moments when you feel like I do know some things, but you don't want to come off like you know it. So imperfect is what drew me into this book project, because I thought it was going to allow me to tap into some things that maybe I wasn't addressing myself with how I'm I was concerned about being imperfect, because we do put on a facade sometimes and kind of work through, as you mentioned earlier when we were talking, work through our fear of something. And sometimes we're so good at it that people don't even know that you're feeling kind of some kind of way about it. So that's kind of what intrigued me to say, let me tap into myself. This was kind of a self-help for me. Like, okay, am I brave enough to write about my imperfections? And at the same time, turn that into something, because that is fierce. To be able to embrace your imperfections is a fierce thing to do. And then to, refocus and get back into the swing of things and meet your goals. That's amazing. So I was like, I'm going on this journey with all these co-authors. I really even said, I think, Jacqueline, you remember me saying, I was like, I don't know how anybody could not jump in on this opportunity. It was like, I don't know how anybody could say no.
Mhm. And you know what? I think I totally agree. I think that this is especially important for us as, like I said, women, women of color,
Mhm.
and being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Because I can't tell you how many times I've interviewed women and they talk about having these projects. Let's just say maybe they may be authoring a book, or they may be putting out a mastermind, or I don't know, a coaching program, and they've sat on it for a while.
Yep.
You'll find out that they're like, oh yeah, I've been saying I was gonna do this for the past 5 years, and I just figured it just wasn't the right time. It wasn't perfect enough, right? Because I know I've been there.
Yep.
So that's why I think that's one of the reasons I think it's so important, is that a lot of women are just sitting on these talents and these ideas to bring to the world that will help enrich, other people in general, personal, professional, leadership development, whatever your sauce is or your niche, right?
Mhm.
But you're sitting on this because you're quote unquote waiting on the perfect time, right?
Right.
Or for itself to be perfect, and going back on the perfect time. Doesn't this sound, and I'm sure this is going to resonate with somebody. It's not the right time. I'm waiting until I don't know, until I get my divorce, or I'm waiting until I finish school, or I'm waiting until my kids graduate high school. I don't know, whatever the case is. You know, Oftentimes this whole idea of perfect, the
Right.
perfect time, right? The perfect timing to do something. So I kind of want to couple it with that, the perfect time, or
Mhm.
you yourself feeling like you have to be perfect, you
Right.
know, and this whole piece about the online, just everything online is just a quick snapshot of perfection,
Mhm.
like a little snippets of people's perfect lives, right? And we know that it's not perfect. You and I both know that. But at
Absolutely.
the same time, sometimes we look at it online and it's still, we still feel like there's this whole image of perfection that we have to strive that we have to strive to meet in order to prove that we're credible, or
Right.
that we're worthy.
Yes.
So so all of those reasons, and it's like I feel like I can go on and on, but there's so many reasons why I think this is so important.
I agree. I mean, it's kind of like we learned which is a good thing. We learned at a young age to always present your best self. And but it's all on how you determine what that is. So some people determine that is the best picture or the best job or the best car, whatever. And sometimes we don't really relate it, because it is true. You should present your best self. I do believe that, but I just think that maybe what's your best might not be that perfect picture. It might be that candid camera picture that catches you off guard doing something that everybody doesn't get to see you do, like being silly with your family and things like that. And that's okay, and I think that being transparent to me is your best self. When you're just moving in your own space, and a trip and a fall, of course not hurting yourself, but a trip and a fall where everybody laughs and they joke and they play, that's your best self, because you don't have any inhibitions. You just, you're not worried about who's in the room and who may not think you're funny and who might not think you're cute. You don't care. You just kind of doing you. But when you start to care, then that's when you start to really shine. And that's when you start to shine. And that's when you start to really, 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 really shine. And that's when you start to 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 really shine. And that's when that's when you sitting up straight and you making sure that you say the right thing and all, which is not a bad thing. It's just that I think we take it to an extreme and then we stress ourselves out with this being imperfect. But here's the kicker for me with this title and this book and this project with Kiva and you all is that it's really okay to be imperfect because everybody is. So we're trying to beat this rule that nobody's going to beat. There is no perfect in any of us. So why are we stressing out about it? It's okay to be imperfect and be fierce while you are.
That's right. So
Absolutely.
I'm gonna give you all a quick example of this, and then we're gonna take a quick commercial break. So case in point, at the start of this show, I completely drew a blank on the title of this book, right? And it's like I just, it doesn't take away from who I am. It doesn't
Absolutely.
mean that you know what I mean? And if it had been like maybe 20 years ago, that would have been a whole ordeal. I wouldn't have even been able to focus on, like being present and actually enjoy the show. And I would have been so focused on the fact that, oh, I forgot the name of the book. How could I, you know what I mean? And
Yes.
and things like that eat away at your self-esteem and, your self-confidence. And the bottom line is, we've all gotten tongue-tied before. We've all
Absolutely.
just drawn a blank, and it doesn't mean that we're bad people. It doesn't mean that we are not.
It means
Um,
you're human. How
it
about
means
that?
that you're human, right?
Yep.
It
And
means
I
that
thought
you're
it was cute because it gives you that naturalness about, because it happens to the best of us. And, the funniest thing when you said that, Jacqueline, is I thought about, which is my favorite part of any movie. Of course, I love great movies, but are the bloopers. And I like the bloopers because that's when people are just being them and things happen. So yeah, I thought about that and thought this was perfect. But to me, and I'm just throwing this out there, I don't know if you see this the same way, but I think that was perfect timing. How about that? Think about it. It was perfect timing to go into this conversation about imperfectly fierce and focused. I mean, God, I'm telling you, if y'all don't believe, I don't understand, because that in itself was showing you how everything happens for a reason, Jacqueline. So that was no mistake. No mistake at
I
all.
have to, and you know what, Lisa, and everybody, you know what, I laugh at myself.
Absolutely.
I chuckle with myself every day. There's never a dull moment in Jack's
I know,
life.
right? Look, you like, yeah, I'm kind of funny sometimes. Yeah,
Because yeah, and I couldn't always do that, but
that's right. That's right.
again, now, I can. So let's take a quick break. We're going to take a quick commercial break, everyone, and we will be right back. So don't go anywhere.
Have you ever struggled with procrastination, imposter syndrome, or a false reality of perfection? Have you ever suffered from trauma, anxiety, or depression? Then I have a solution just for you. Introducing Imperfectly Fierce and Focused, rising above your imperfections while still crushing your goals. This anthology is to empower, uplift, and motivate readers to recognize their ability and strength to get beyond the spirit of perfection, fear, and procrastination. So if you're ready to stop the excuses, stop the procrastination, and start living your best version of yourself, then prepare yourself for this powerful book release. It's going to be epic. Like and follow our Facebook page, Imperfectly Fierce and Focused, rising above your imperfections while still crushing your goals.
I
I
loved
have one.
it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So again, everyone, if you make sure you're following Imperfectly Fierce and Focused on Facebook, as well as either Kiva Murdoch or
Mhm.
the show's page, Kiva Murdoch's show place. Is that the name of it? Kiva Murdoch show?
The place, I think, yeah.
Or Kiva's place, I think is what it's
Keeper's
called.
place.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Kiva's place.
Keeper's place.
So that way you can make sure that you are up to date and when the project is getting ready to launch. And I believe the anticipated launch date is the end of next month, right? That's the
Yes, end
anticipated.
of May. Hmm.
So let's use this segment for Lisa. If you can go ahead and share with us just a little snippet, if
Mm.
I don't know if you touched on some of it already, but a little snippet of what your chapter is about.
Okay, so without giving them too much, because we ain't gonna get y'all too much, we want y'all to get the book. But the title of my chapter is Breaking All the Rules. Because I think that was part of where my imperfection and the fear of being imperfect came from. Is that growing up, I didn't do everything the way they tell you you're supposed to do it. Having children, I had a young child when I was in college. But the story is you're supposed to get married, have children. So I felt guilty about it because I didn't do that perfectly. Some people are into the debutante balls and introducing themselves into society. And when that opportunity came, I didn't do that. So I was thinking, I missed the beat again. And then you always feel like you're letting somebody down. You're disappointing somebody because you didn't do it the way it's supposed to be done. And so that's where I kind of felt like I'm really imperfect with how I rolled out my life. I mean, now I don't think I had a bad life necessarily, but according to the rules of society, it should have been just absolutely horrible. Like you didn't do anything by the rules, even getting married. They say you're supposed to get married, and all of those are great rules, and great things to follow. But when you don't meet that expectation, then you lose your self-confidence, like you said, and you feel like that you failed. And I think that's where life hit me because I felt like that although I wanted to meet some of those, goals, I didn't. But does that change who I am as a person? No. But you do feel that way when you're thinking, okay, your parents want you to do this, or even for people who their parents wanted them to be a doctor or be a lawyer and they ended up not even wanting to go to college. The pressure of not meeting that goal is like, okay, I failed them. I'm imperfect because that would have been the perfect person for them. So that's kind of what I talk about in my chapter is doing things in life where I felt like I broke the rules. And the rules for me were those guidelines in life that you're supposed to follow. And I didn't do a lot of those that way. I did it the way it rolled out for me. And I think that we need to be careful not to figure that we have to follow everybody's way of getting to the goal. Everybody has a different lane. I know we talk like the Wizard of Oz with the yellow brick road, but there's several roads. It's all not on one road. All roads lead to the goal. There are plenty of people who are lawyers and doctors that did not follow all the rules that were set forth. They did it their own way. There are plenty of people who didn't go to college when they first graduated, but a couple of years down the road, they were like, oh, okay. And they went on back and got their degrees. I felt like I wasn't perfect because I went to Spelman and I went to Spelman for 5 years. But I didn't graduate because I had a daughter while I was in college. So I felt like, what a failure. But then I was missing the fact that I went to Spelman for 5 years. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, that's awesome. And all the information and the education that everyone else received, I got that. I was there. I had those experiences, but I was kind of minimizing what I had done because I didn't do it the way everybody else did it or I was supposed to do it. So I kind of tap into that to just kind of touch into those people who feel like that maybe they failed because they didn't do it the way it was supposed to be done. But just remember that, you have your own lane. You got your own life to live. And there is opportunity to grow and change and learn. And I did all of that. And, when you have, And a lot of mine was my faith too. So as long as you stay, stay in your faith, you believe. I had many conversations with the man upstairs and say, okay, help me, because I don't know what I'm doing. But I didn't, and I won't say I did lose my way a few times, and I felt like I had failed, and there was no way around that. Especially when you have a child, you're thinking, okay, life is going to be different. I'm not going to be able to do that. I ain't going to be able to have this. Those people who did it the right way, but let's think about it. Some of those people who did all the rules still ended up with maybe rough lives. They did things that they're not happy about. So there's no cookie cutter way to live this thing called life. Ergo the imperfections of life. Everybody has things that they just didn't do the way it was supposed to be done, and they still made it. And I always get back to, and I talk about this a little bit, is you define what success is for you. I think a lot of times we're following somebody else's definition of success, when success for me is a smile on my face at the end of the day because I've had a chance to be with my family. I'm proud of my kids. Though that's success for me. It doesn't matter about, and I like that. I like nice things, of course, the car and whatever, but that's not what moves my heart. I feel successful when I have a family who loves me and I love them, and we get to laugh and joke at the end of the day. And that's whether you got the job or whatever happened, that we can laugh at the end of the day, or we can embrace each other and be there for each other. That's a successful life to me. So if something happened tomorrow, I know that that's what I'm working towards. So define your own definition of what success is for you, and I think that those imperfections will be easier to embrace. And it's okay to be imperfect, because everybody is. Everybody.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you bring this up. I think, and especially for women,
Mm-hmm.
well, I don't know if it's especially for women, but just coming up in households and whatever our parents and our families' expectations are of us, right?
Absolutely.
And it could be from who you should marry,
Mm-hmm.
to what you should pursue in school.
Yep.
I mean, on down to where you should live, or if you're a certain caliber of person, you should be living on this side of town or driving this sort of car.
Right.
So I think that oftentimes, and especially when we're younger, it because I've interviewed a lot of women in the past, and as they begin to get older and they define what success looks like for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're typically no longer concerned with what their parents want them to do, or friends, or older sister, grandparents, or whatever. They're living for them.
Right.
They are making up their own rules,
Yep.
defining their lives how they see fit and what best suits them, and how freeing that is.
Absolutely.
So this whole idea of being perfect, living up to someone else's standards.
Absolutely.
Like I wanted to go to college. I always knew I was going to go to college, but to be honest with you, it was expected.
Exactly.
If I graduated high school and came up talking about, I thought that maybe I was gonna, what do they call that when people take a year off of school, you
The,
know,
the break, because I asked for a break, and I was, it was kind of like, no, we don't do that.
like a break. Oh no, 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 that's not gonna happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I wanted to go to college, but it was a huge expectation
Yeah.
that I was going to college. It wasn't even a question. Now I threw everybody. Well, I went to an undergrad.
Uh-huh.
I stayed home. But for grad, I kind of did it the opposite. But for graduate school, I went away.
Okay.
And that wasn't that was kind of frowned upon, like, well, what are you doing at this, stage in your life? You going away, and that doesn't make sense, and things of that nature. But if you really think about how everyone has a perception of you, everyone has an idea of how your life should roll out, you know. And if it fits into that, that whole idea of being perfect,
Mm-hmm.
we want to, for let's say our parents, typically our family, our parents, our grandparents, and so forth are typically very influential, you know, and we feel like we have to be perfect in a sense of meeting their standards or their expectations,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely.
So
And it's a lot of pressure.
for sure, yeah.
And I think there was a somewhat expectation. It wasn't in a mean way, but it was an expectation.
Hmm.
And I expected it of myself. But it's funny, when I became a mom, and I had one child who did go to college and graduated, and I had one who didn't, but they're both successful. But it was hard for me, because when you pick up that, expectancy, from when you were a child, and now you carry that into your children, the pressure even on me. I mean, I was just kind of like, oh no, we go to college. I mean, that was kind of like my thought process, is we go to college. And that was at the same time because I felt like I had failed it. I went for 5 years, but because I had a child, I was like, that's my main priority. So now I'm disappointing everybody, because I wanted to walk away and take a break. And that was, like, well, where do they do that at? No, you finish this out. But here's the other thing. I had to expect, it was expected, and I think it is, that you get good grades. So when I got to college, and I felt like, because I had other priorities and I had a little girl I had to take care of, that my grades weren't what they should be. So that's why I was like, so that I don't fail, let me take a break to keep my grades up, because you have all this, and think about all that pressure, all those bricks on your shoulder that you're carrying around, because you're trying to be perfect.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think even as a parent, I started to learn that my children both have their own paths in this thing called life. And I'm just here to help guide them, give them advice, and be there for them when they fall. But I can't dictate their road. Their road might be blue or green or whatever, just because I went down a yellow brick road, don't mean that's the road they're traveling. So, yeah, I think that we put too much pressure on trying to meet, as you said, everybody else's expectations, instead of just kind of deciding for ourselves what's success. And here's the big part about it for me, Jacqueline, is to celebrate those successes, big or small. If it was a rough day and I just got up, took a shower, and was able to, just relax a little bit, that's a successful day for me. I didn't have, that was achievement. But we always put these big grand things on success, and it doesn't have to be that. It really doesn't.
I'm glad you said that. We do, and like you said, as something successful can be something as simple as I got up and had a cup of coffee today and
Yes.
watched a movie and just relaxed.
Yes. And that's
That's a
huge
success.
success. That's absolutely, for somebody who, remember we talked earlier, for somebody who's really kind of busy and having a lot of things going on,
Mhm.
that is a successful day, when it's like, look, phones off, nobody, talk to nobody, no business. Which is what I did, Jacqueline. I decided one day that no business today. I am not going to answer my phone. I'm not going to answer emails. I'm not going to feel guilty about not doing it, because you owe that to yourself. And that was successful to me. And I slept well that night too.
Okay. Yeah. Determining determining your own path. And like how you mentioned
Yes,
earlier, it's more than one yellow brick road,
that's
right?
right. That's right. That's right. It is. And we got to be okay, like you mentioned. We got to have to be okay with it. It's
Hmm.
okay to not hit the mark every time. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. Woo. I mean, this, you know, the last thing I'll say, because I know we could probably go on
Yeah, we
this
talk
for
about all
another
our
hour and
imperfections.
a half
I got
talking about
plenty.
this, right? But because I typically my audience is I deal with women entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about like we're talking about being perfect, and I know oftentimes I struggle with being a mom, and also being a mom, working a full-time 9 to 5, and having my business.
Hmm.
I struggle with like right now. I'm supposed to be at my son started soccer today, and I'm supposed to be there. They're texting me now saying, well, when are you gonna be heading out?
And we're going to get you there, Jacqueline. We're going to get you there. because that's success right there. That's
Yes,
yeah.
but the reason I'm bringing it up is because, sometimes, and I'm not gonna lie, just to be honest or to be transparent, that's a struggle for me sometimes,
Mhm.
wanting to be or feeling like I'm not living up to the full expectation of being a mom because I'm trying
Right.
to balance, so many different things.
Yeah.
So I think going back to what you said a moment ago, just creating your own path, and
Mhm.
realizing that everybody's path is not the same.
That's right.
You know what I mean? You have to, as you go along, yeah, you're gonna make some mistakes, you're gonna, fall short a lot of the times, but as long as you acknowledge it, right?
Mhm.
And you learn from it, and you move forward. It's not always going to be perfect. There is no blueprint for being a perfect mom and being a perfect business owner. First of all, the whole idea of perfect is an illusion, but there is no
Exactly.
there's no set of instructions.
That's right.
You
That's
know what
right.
I mean? It's no set of instructions. It's what I define it to be. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And nothing
And
is
you're
going to
not
be.
alone either. That's the thing too that I want you to, because I mean, when you were saying that about being a mom and making sure you're a good mom and you're still trying to the entrepreneurship journey and all of that. I've been there too. And the thing is, you're not even by yourself in that bucket. There's a whole lot of people in that bucket. And it's just that people are unique. The uniqueness in you is that you recognize that it's okay to feel funny in that space. And there's some people that haven't gotten there yet. So that's why I like the fact that this book is actually going to help those people, for exactly what you just said, Jacqueline, to get out of that space where they're feeling guilty, and feeling like they failed. And you're actually going to be suggesting to them that, no, I've been there too. And I'm not a failure. So you can't be one, because I'm not going to let you define me. So if we're going through the same thing, and I'm not no failure, you can't be a failure either.
That's
So,
right.
yep, I love it.
Imperfectly. So what is it? Imperfectly fierce and focused. And I'm trying to remember what's the second part of it? Imperfectly fierce and focused, rising above your imperfections while still crushing your goals
That's
by
right.
visionary Kiva Murdoch.
Absolutely.
So, and Miss Lisa here is the publisher as well as one of the co-authors. I'm one of the co-authors as well, and there are several other awesome women that are also a part of this project. So again, make sure you are following on Facebook at, I believe it's just at Imperfectly Fierce and Focused.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly Fierce and Focused is the Facebook handle to follow.
Absolutely.
Any closing thoughts or closing remarks? Anything that you wanted to mention that you didn't already?
No, I'm excited about being a part of this book project along with you, Jacqueline. And Kiva is an amazing visionary. I think Imperfectly Fierce and Focus is going to be a game changer in the lives of women and men all over the place. I think it's time that we started to embrace our imperfections, and I think this book is the start of that kind of movement. So I'm excited about it, and thank you so much for allowing me to come on and share this space with you. So yeah, Jacqueline, we got work to do behind the scenes because we got to get them ready to check this book out.
That's right. Yes, we do. So make sure you're following, and next month,
Yes.
on the end of May. So make sure you stay abreast of everything. You can join us for the virtual launch and grab your copy. So, everyone, thank you again for joining us for another episode of A Queen's Roundtable Show and Podcast. If you are a visionary or, an author, if you have an upcoming summit, virtual summit, or where you want your speakers as well as your co-authors to get more exposure, put more eyes on your project, then definitely link up with me and let's have a conversation. You can follow me on Facebook again on Facebook and LinkedIn under Jacqueline Kabah Harrison, as well as on Facebook and Instagram, Realizing Your Potential 123. And Lisa, let them know real quick where they can follow you at.
You can follow me on Lisa Dove Washington on Facebook, actually Instagram, and even TikTok. I'm trying to get into the TikTok world. I'm learning. I'm a newbie. But yeah, anywhere out there, Lisa Dove Washington, you can follow me, and you'll be able to catch up on what's going on with Kiever, and this wonderful book project.
All right. Well, thank you again, everyone. And until next time, join us again next Sunday, every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except for holidays. So,
That's right.
Mother's Day, we won't have a show. But other than that, every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, join us. All right,
And I
everyone.
wish your son a win. So enjoy yourself.
I am. I'm headed to a soccer game, y'all.
I love it. I love it.
All right. Take care, everybody. See y'all next time.